Hello everyone and welcome to this Sciences Po Live broadcast dedicated to the Master New Luxury and Art de Vivre offered at the Sciences Po School of Management and Impact. I have the pleasure of being with Eva Bellinghausen, Program Director of the Master New Luxury and Art de Vivre, to give you the most up-to-date information on the program. Eva, thank you so much for being with us.
My pleasure.
And we also have two other guests who are with us remotely. Sarah and Marco, you are respectively student and graduates of the Master New Luxury and Art de Vivre. Thank you so much for being with us. We'll be with you in just a moment. Now to you viewers watching us live on YouTube today, should you have any question at this point, you can ask questions in the chat box of this YouTube live session. Our guests will be more than happy to answer a few of those questions in the second part of this broadcast. Thank you so much for being with us. Now let's get started, and my first question goes to Eva Bellinghausen, Program Director of the Master New Luxury and Art de Vivre. Eva, to start with, could you tell us what are the academic objectives of this program?
Yes, with pleasure. We're a social sciences university at Sciences Po, and that is really what sets us apart. Because we train luxury professionals, excellent luxury professionals, who have a solid foundation in the social sciences. And that is absolutely necessary and super important, because luxury is to a very large extent a social and cultural phenomenon. And in order to be relevant today and on the long run in your career, you do need to have a very fine understanding of a society, of a culture, of the societies that produce and consume luxury, of the international context and of the evolution of our values, of our aspirations, of where we're going as a society, because that will very much influence luxury. So that's a very, very important part of the studies and a very important asset. At the same time, we try to give students the hard skills that are necessary to be immediately efficient on the work market as you arrive. But in a very fast-paced environment, those hard skills need to be updated all of the times, whereas your foundation in the social sciences, your critical thinking, your general culture, the capacity to analyze, that's something that will stay with you for all of your life, and that is super important. We also attach a lot of importance to CSR, to the social and environmental quality of the luxury products, because luxury products distinguish themselves through their exceptional quality, amongst others, and the ethical and the social quality of those products, the environmental quality, should be up to the mark also.
Thank you so much, Eva. You mentioned Social Sciences Foundation, operational hard skills, CSR, and so on. What are the main subjects that are taught within the Master?
Well, the Master teaches a vast variety of subjects, and I do recommend candidates who are interested to check out our curriculum that is online to see what exactly you will be studying if you join us. There are a number of mandatory common courses that are fundamental for your learning, such as corporate strategy, sociology and history of luxury, the data digital part. Students also learn on the legal and digital aspects of luxury, because that's something we all need to master a little bit in order to be relevant in the sector, whatever your position later. So there is really a large choice of classes also in electives later. Check it out online. You can see it all.
Thank you, Eva. Now, we understand the Master New Luxury and Art de Vivre is a 2-year program. Could you tell us how are the 2 years of studies organized?
So it's a classical, what we call an academic staircase. We recruit students with no prerequisites in marketing or in luxury. So those are skills that we teach you in the first semester, second semester. We start with the fundamentals like luxury marketing, the legal aspects of marketing, market studies. That's in the beginning first semester. Then we also do a large business case, real-life business case with a maison during that first semester to help you immediately apply the knowledge you will have acquired in the classes. We've done business cases with Chanel, with Louboutin, with the Ritz, and other very beautiful maisons. And students have come up with really brilliant ideas. Like that, in the first semester, we create the foundation, and you have a first practical application. Second semester, there's more of a deep dive into history, sociology, into CSR, into customer behavior. So that's also something that will take you forward to entering the job market for your gap year. At the end of the first year, we do a study trip to Milan, which is a super opportunity to deep dive into Italian and more specifically Milanese luxury with an Italian professor, with a Milanese professor, of course, to get a better understanding of the differences between French and Italian luxury. Then we very strongly recommend a gap year. It's not at all mandatory, but we think it's super useful because it will allow you basically two things. Either you have a dream or a professional project, then you should put it to the test. If you dream of working, say, in leather goods or perfume or in certain missions, well, do 2 internships to check out if that's really what you want to do and where you want to do it. Or else you don't have a very exact project yet, and that's okay as well. And you have this feeling of serendipity. You just want to try 2 things and check what's good for you. And it's easier to find a final internship if you've done a gap year. You've already developed your professional network, your experience, so the gap year is an important part of the program. Second year, you have 2 options. You can either do a 3rd semester, academic semester, with a large variety of elective classes to develop your knowledge of the sector you're interested in, and a final internship. And very likely, starting 2027, we will have the possibility of an apprenticeship in the 2nd year.
Great. So a 2-year program divided into 4 semesters, an optional gap year in between year 1 and year 2, a mandatory internship on semester 4, and the optional work-study experience starting 2027.
Yes.
A word on languages, Eva, if you may. What's the language of instruction?
The language of instruction is English. The program is entirely taught in English. For those who wish, you can choose some optional classes in French, but you can go through the program entirely in English. That's perfectly possible, and the program is designed for that. But we ask students to learn, or it's mandatory to learn French, unless you have a C1 level of French already, because as I mentioned, luxury is deeply rooted in a society and in a culture, and to study French luxury, you do have to take an interest in French culture and society, and it makes your entrance into the work market much easier if you have a command of French.
Thank you so much, Eva, for this great overview of the program. Now, to illustrate what a student's journey within the Master is, we have the pleasure of welcoming Sarah. Sarah, thank you again for being with us. You are a 2nd-year student enrolled in the Master New Luxury and Art de Vivre. You will graduate this coming spring 2026. Sarah, you did your high school in Alicante in Spain, followed by a bachelor at Sciences Po prior to joining the Master New Luxury and Art de Vivre. What made you choose the specific Sciences Po Master New Luxury and Art de Vivre?
So first of all, thank you for having me, and thank you for your question. So what made me choose this master? So as you said, I did my bachelor's at Sciences Po, and during that time period, I thought I wanted to study international relations. And then I did my 3rd year abroad in Milan, thanks to Sciences Po. And through that 3rd year, I realized that I was actually really interested in the luxury sector because I discovered the city of Milan, which is the capital, of course, of luxury and fashion. And I also had the opportunity for the first time to follow classes in that matter. And at the end of this 3rd year and at the end of my undergrad, I had confirmed that this was going to be my career path. And when I was contemplating all the masters that I could study, I decided to stay at Sciences Po because I really value what the institution was going to bring to the program. And by that, I mean social sciences, critical thinking, general knowledge, academic excellence. Those were values that I was really attached to and that I grew attached to through my bachelor's, and it's something that I wanted to keep.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Now, to give our viewers an idea of what the program is like, could you tell us what is the learning environment like within the program? Do you have a favorite class? And what are some of the best memories you retained from your Sciences Po experience so far?
Yes, of course. So regarding the learning environment, I'd say that what really stuck with me was the professionalizing aspect of the master's, because in comparison to the bachelor, it was very academic. So it was something that I was not used to. And that was mainly thanks to most of our teachers that were professionals, I mean, still are professionals in the milieu. And then a second thing that stuck with me was that for the first time we were mixed with people who weren't undergrad from Sciences Po. So there were a lot of students who came from very different academic, even professional backgrounds, different nationalities, different ages. So I think it brought a lot to our collective intelligence. Then if I had to choose a favorite class, I would have to say that it was Introduction to Luxury and Fashion Industries that is taught by Serge Carrera in M1 semester 1, if it's still the case. And essentially it's a class that traces back the birth, historically that traces back the birth of those industries. And what was really special for me was our teacher, Serge Carrera. He's a really important figure in the Parisian fashion luxury environment, and he really had a lot of interesting insights to give us because he has a very big experience in this milieu. So it made a very special class for us. And regarding my best memories, this is my 6th year in Sciences Po, so I have a lot of them, but to be a bit cheesy, I would say the people that I've met, students, teachers, guest speakers that we've met at conferences. But if I had to stick strictly to the masters, I would say all the visits that Eva has organized for us in all the maisons. Thank you very much for that. And finally, also the fact that we're able to attend the fashion show, thanks to invitations that were secured for us by Serge Carrera.
Thank you so much, Sarah. It sounds like lots of good memories indeed. Eva mentioned how students can do an optional gap year in between year 1 and year 2 of the program. You did a gap year with internships at 2 French multinational companies specializing in luxury goods and headquartered in Paris, France, Dior and Kering. What were your positions and work about?
Thank you for your questions. So starting for my first internship, so at Kering for my gap year, I was managing events, so in the innovation teams, and the goal of our team was to raise awareness around the different innovations that were going on in the technological sector, and we were doing that through different events, so it could be forums, it could be conferences, workshops, and so on. So essentially I was doing event management. And then for my second gap year internship, I went to Christian Dior and I worked in campaigns. So essentially I was organizing pre-production, production, and by that I mean photo shoots, and post-production. And now for my end of master's internship, I'm back at Christian Dior, but I'm in a different position. I am working in collection merchandising in men's footwear. So essentially, I develop all the commercial lines.
Great, great, sounds great. Thank you very much, Sarah. Now, final question. Hopefully many of the viewers watching us live on YouTube today are future applicants to the program. What advice, would you have an advice to give to applicants willing to join the program next year?
I'm sorry, you keep on cutting and I didn't hear you, I'm so sorry.
Let me rephrase the question for you. Is that what you need? Would you have an advice to give to future applicants willing to join the program next year?
If I had any advice to give to students who are going to come next year, yes, of course. To be fair, I entered Sciences Po, as you've mentioned, in bachelor's, so I think the processes are a bit different. But when I look at all the students who joined for the master's, I think that the main thing that sticks out for me is the fact that they all came from very different backgrounds, academically, professionally, and so on. So I think that if you are a prospect, an applicant, and you look up an alumni's background and it's different from yours, I don't think it's something that should necessarily discourage you. And then secondly and finally, it is, as we mentioned, a professional program and a business-oriented program, but it is a master's that is offered by Sciences Po, and it's not something that you should forget. So keep in mind and don't forget to highlight throughout your application that social sciences, general knowledge, analytical skills, critical thinking are things that are important to you and that you know how to apply in your work as a student.
Thank you very much, Sarah, for great insights and advice to future applicants. We'll get back to you in just a moment. Now we're back in the studio with Eva Bellinghausen, Program Director of the Master New Luxury and Art de Vivre. We just mentioned prospective students. Eva, what is a good profile for the Master? What type of students are you looking for?
Well, we recruit students from all sorts of academic backgrounds, as Sarah just mentioned. What we do look for is academic excellence, of course. That's the first criterion. We look into students who have a capacity of handling a very heavy workload. because you're headed for a competitive sector, and we will prepare you well for that sector. So academic excellence, open-mindedness, curiosity, great general culture, and a solid motivation for luxury, for CSR, and also for the social sciences. That seems really important to me. It's not enough to like luxury. That's something that's really important, and it's your own motivation also. What makes you want to work in the luxury sector? Something that's very specific about luxury goods and services is the perfection, the quest for perfection. Nobody's perfect, of course, and we don't expect anybody to be perfect, but there has to be this strive for perfection, this wish for perfection if you want to thrive in the luxury sector and in those studies.
Sciences Po is a total of 13,500 students. How many students do you have? What are the size of cohorts? And how international are they?
Well, it's a relatively small program. We have between 40 and 50 students each year. Cohorts are extremely diverse and international. That's part of the wealth, of the intellectual wealth of the program, is that people bring all sorts of different things to the table. And yes, we have about 13 nationality for 46 students.
Now, you mentioned a few classes. Sarah did mention a few classes she enjoyed and experiences she enjoyed. What are teaching methods like? What's the proportion of lectures you mentioned, seminars, group projects, field trips to Milan
Yes.
you talked about also?
Yes, so there is a variety of types of classes, and the methods will depend very much on the type of class. We have 20% of the teachers who are academics, who will more teach the social sciences part, and then we have top professionals who will teach the more professionalizing classes, who are often in smaller groups. So when you have a large group, you will have more of a lecture type class, but always based on a lot of interactions with the students. We ask for a lot of participation because you do learn a lot in class and you learn a lot from each other. In the smaller class, in elective courses, and in the more professionalizing classes, you will have a lot of business cases. You will have professionals who come to testify, who share their experience, and we will have excursions. So that's more hands-on experience. It's always this idea of trying to provide you with the academic knowledge that is expected, but also the toolbox for an immediate start on the work market.
And talking about start on the work market, thank you, Eva. We have the pleasure of welcoming Marco. Marco, thank you so much for being with us. You are a 2022 graduate of the Master New Luxury and Art de Vivre. You are originally from Italy. You currently work at Ruinart, the oldest established champagne house in France, as brand image manager. What made you want to work in the champagne world, and what is your work about?
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for welcoming me here. I'm very happy to be able to share my personal experience within the master and in my career. I would say, for me, it was all about talent at the beginning because I knew, at the time that I had a talent and I love image, I love photography. But then I was asking myself, what can I do to nurture that, to go beyond that? So I explored a bit. It was a kind of a test and learn path when I started in fashion, and like little by little, I moved to the wine and spirits sector, and that it was thanks to several meetings because I've met amazing professor at Sciences Po within the master, like Martin Coubertin, that made me love the champagne business specifically. I've met also my former manager at Dom Perignon that inspired me through her vision and interest in the sector. So late by late, I came up with the idea of working in the sector, and Ruinart was for me the obvious choice. First of all, because I would say it's a personal memory. It was the first champagne I've ever drank, but also for me it was important because I always loved contemporary art. I always loved the CSR policies that I've learned during the master, and Ruinart for me was the perfect mix to express my love for image and to express and develop my knowledge and my skills within those competencies.
You mentioned faculty and classes that contributed to shaping your professional goals. What other contributions did the Master New Luxury and Art de Vivre make to your early career?
So I would say the first one for me is what lies behind the job description, because sometimes when you're a young professional, you're a young student, it's not always easy to understand what's behind it. You have a lot of offers, you have a lot of different positions, and the master's allowed me to deep dive into that thanks to meetings with amazing professionals, with amazing and amazing and incredible companies, LVMH, Chanel, or others, and do business cases that develop my understanding of marketing and especially luxury marketing. And the last one I would say is the international environment. For me, it's very important. I'm Italian and Greek. I've lived in several places, and the master was kind of a mix of that with different understanding of society. So for me, it was key.
You mentioned growing up in Italy. You did indeed your undergraduate studies at the New Academy of Fine Arts in Milan, Italy. Back then, what made you want to choose to go to Sciences Po in Paris, France, for your graduate studies?
So I've always heard amazing things about Sciences Po, especially like on the press, but not only, also to my friends in Italy or in France. They always shared amazing memories or amazing news about what's going on in Sciences Po. So for me, it was extremely interesting. And then little by little, I also discovered that it's an amazing opportunity, Sciences Po, to see people from different schools, but also to meet different perspectives and study something based on social and human, like social sciences, but also on hard skills and business skills. So for me, it was the perfect combo to develop my career, because I think it's key to understand what's going on in the world right now, and to be able to do that in the luxury sector is also to be able to understand that and to think forward and think somehow outside the box.
You graduated from the Master New Luxury and Art de Vivre in 2022. When you look back at your Sciences Po years, what were the stages of building your professional project while studying at Sciences Po within the Master?
Yeah, for me, the very first part was the academic excellence. Really work hard during my academic years, try to understand what's behind every details, and always asking myself why. And I was very much helped by the professors and Eva on that during my process. And then little by little, trying to create my own network as a professional, meeting the right people, and understanding, as I said previously, the jobs I wanted to do. So I didn't take a gap year in my case, but for me it was very interesting because I was able to do an internship at Maison Francisco Jean, working hand in hand with the CEO and the nose of the brand, and I was trying to understand the heritage and try to apply it to marketing and communication purposes. And then I moved from one alcohol sector, one alcohol business to another one, because I started for my final year internship, an internship at Compagnon, and then I was able to be a brand manager working on the Art de Vivre, which is key in France. So it was very broad, but I made something special, and I fell in love with the business, and I'm still working into that. So it was a process, and I would say really network was key.
Thank you so much, Marco, for an enlightening testimonial, and we'll get back to you with more questions during the Q&A session of this broadcast. Now back with Eva Bellinghausen, Program Director of the Master in New Luxury and Art de Vivre, about professional life. How do graduates enter the job market, Eva?
Well, entering the job market is step by step. We start with the business cases that give you some professional, real life experience before you do your first internship. Then they get into the professional market through their first internships, because companies do like to hire people that they've seen work as interns, because like that they know how good you are. And there's also the Sciences Po network, the teachers are a network. We do a lot of meetings with luxury companies, and we're so fortunate as to have super partners, a very beautiful partner maison and group for the masters, like Chanel, LVMH, Louboutin and Saint Laurent, who get student CV books to hire them if they when they recruit. So all this is it helps you to enter the job market. And with 3 internships, if you do a gap year, you do have a bit of experience when you look for your first real job.
Thank you so much, Eva. And then in the end, when students finally graduate, in what sectors, in what type of organizations, in France or abroad, where are they recruited? What do they do?
The Masters opens up to a lot of different jobs and activities. It basically depends on students' passion and project. Many of them work in product-related jobs, many of them in large French maisons, or at least they start their career because that is why they came to France in many cases. So many of them work in our company groups or maisons. We have a lot of students in the LVMH maison at Chanel, but also in other luxury sectors and maison. We have also, students have a passion for heritage and patrimony. There's a lot of interest in champagne, in hospitality, in experiential luxury. So the variety of jobs is vast. You can go into consulting. There's really there's a lot of opening up on the sector.
A wide range of
A wide range, yes.
Thank you very much, Eva. Now is the time for our Q&A session. Thank you very much for the many questions you've been asking in the chat box of this YouTube live session. And here is the first question for Marco. Marco, you mentioned your professional experiences both during your master, the internships you did at Francis Kurkdjian Perfumer and Dom Pérignon Champagne House. A question about advice you could give to future international applicants. Marco, do you have an advice to give to future international applicants and students on building their professional project during their studies at Sciences Po?
Yeah, exactly. For me, the first one is work hard because it's a very demanding business. So it's very important that you know that since the very beginning. The second one was think outside the box and be ready for the challenge. Be brave, because I think it's important to go out from your comfort zone to discover more about who you are and what you want to do. And the last one, I would say, if you are in France, and in general, to build your network, but if you're in France, also to learn French, because in most of companies, it's a plus, I would say.
Thank you so much, Marco, for great advice to future applicants. We have a question for Eva Bellinghausen, Program Director of the Master New Luxury and Art de Vivre. Let me read it out loud for you guys. Before applying for the master's program, is it essential to have a strong understanding of the luxury sector?
But it's a complicated question in the sense that you need to have a very clear motivation. So you need to know where you're going and why you want to work in the luxury sector. That much of understanding you need to have, because it's a sectorial program. You need to be happy in that sector. You need to enjoy classes on luxury. So that's the amount of understanding we need. You need a very clear motivation. Luxury doesn't recruit its customers. So the idea is to come as a future professional, and you need to know that. Apart from that, we don't expect internships, we don't expect prior studies in luxury. We know that that is complicated and that you don't need it. If you come with prior studies in philosophy, in law, in language, you name it, that's fine. You just need to know why you want to go into the luxury sector, and as Marco said, be prepared to work very hard, because we have 3 semesters to transform you into an excellent luxury professional.
Thank you so much, Eva. Now we have a question for Sarah. Sarah, second-year student enrolled in the Master New Luxury and Art de Vivre. Sarah, you mentioned 3 internships you did, 2 at Christian Dior and 1 at Kering. Here's the question. Let me read it out loud for you. What sector or position do you wish to work at after graduation? You will graduate this coming spring 2026.
So I'm still not sure where I want to end up doing my career, and that's also why, same as Eva, I would recommend doing a gap year, because I was really set on working in campaign, and I did an internship and I liked it, I really did. But that also gave me an opportunity to do this additional internship in collection merchandising, and I'm actually growing to like it a lot. So I'm still very hesitant, and I think it's very normal at our age as well. So I'm trying to keep an open mind, and it's something that I also would recommend, because I think a career in a student's path can take sometimes unforeseeable turns. So yes, not shutting any doors, and so possibly campaign or collection merchandising.
And you still have lots of options open. Thank you very much, Sarah. We have another question from Marco. Marco, who graduated from the program in 2022. About international application. Marco, you applied as an international student from Italy. You did your undergraduate studies in Italy. Here is the question. What was, Marco, the most challenging part of your international application to Sciences Po?
So for me, the most challenging part was for sure the first step, or writing a motivational letter. Sometimes it's a bit scary because you really have to understand what you want to do, your goals, and also to write down clearly why Sciences Po, why the master. So the first step was a bit difficult at the beginning, but once I started, it was smoother. And I think it's always good to start and write down something, and then it will come along easily.
Thank you so much, Marco. Now we have another question for Sarah. Sarah, you will graduate this coming spring from the program. A question about how did Sciences Po help you with finding internships and getting into the professional world? You mentioned a few insights on that subject. Did you receive any assistance in your search for an internship and more generally in developing your future career path?
So thank you for your question. Yes, of course, you are not alone. It sounds a bit cheesy, but it's true. Finding a first internship, sometimes they can be hard if you don't have any prior experience, and that was my case. So of course the search can last, but everybody ends up finding an internship. For that, you need to be reassured. But of course, doing business cases helps a lot to have something to put on your CV if you only had only an academic CV before, so like me. And then also teachers are always very helpful. They always give some additional time. If you ask them, they will always try and help you. Sometimes they can even open their address book. It also happens. And the administration, and by that I mean Eva and the team, they are always here as well to give you advices on orientation. And they also have the people that they know as well. And we also had so many different conferences with different maisons that came. HRs come as well, so you can print your CV, you can talk with them, know a bit more about the job description if you have any questions. So you're definitely very well surrounded.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you again. And we have a final question from our viewers to Eva Bedinghausen. Eva, you mentioned how CSR is an important component of the program. Here's the question. How does the master's program deal with new challenges like environmental issues and digitalization?
Well, I would say that environmental issues and digitalization are not completely new issues. They're sort of ongoing issues, and there's always something new. There's obviously the classes. We update classes and we change the curriculum regularly to integrate new challenges, to integrate, for instance, now artificial intelligence and how it's impacting the luxury sector or luxury marketing. The professionals do bring all of that up-to-date information. As for CSR, same principle. We do have a large important class on sustainable luxury with two professionals, but we also expect our teachers to integrate issues of sustainability into each of the classes. It's like to be a red thread in any class because it's supposed to be a red thread in whatever missions you will have later. So it's integrated directly into the classes and into business cases.
Thank you very much, Eva. Our information session is now coming to an end. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Eva, Sarah, and Marco for joining us today. Thank you for your fruitful testimonials. We hope that we were able to answer all the questions you had on the Master New Luxury and Art de Vivre. And we hope to see you again at Sciences Po soon. Thank you so much and goodbye.